Welcome to the Holistic Success Show. I'm Elizabeth Capoletti.
And I'm Dr. Robert Pupp. Today our guest is an expert on early childhood disorders.
Dr. Puff is going to be talking to us about external approval as well as desires.
And a question from you about how to eat your vegetables.
Another question is going to be about unexpected sadness. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show.
I want to talk about why looking externally to feel good about yourself through approval of others isn't really a very safe foundation to build your life on. The main reason is that it can change. For example, when you look at famous people or politicians, today they may be deeply and wonderfully loved by everybody, and tomorrow they may be hated, scorned. The same can be true in our own lives. The best example I can give is that of marriage, of your mate. People get married and they look into each other's eyes and they say, I want to spend my life with you, eternity with you. And then a few years later, up to 50% of them are going to be in divorce court and can't stand the other person. So if you look externally to feel good about yourself, the problem with it is it's very precarious, it changes, and it can cause you suffering. And our show is about not having you suffer. So what can you do instead? What options should you have? The main option you have is learn to love life one breath, one moment at a time. Just enjoy people when they're in your life. Be glad they're there, but their approval of you, see it like dessert. It's really nice to have when someone thinks highly of you, but if you get too attached to that, if you need that, when it changes, it will cause you suffering. If you say, hey, I had a great meal, meaning life is a great meal, and I love life, I love the people in my life, but when someone doesn't approve of me, it's like not getting dessert. You know, you wish you had the dessert, you wish people cared for you, but when they don't, you're okay. See, well, I love life. I'm not needing other people's approval, because that can change. Success can change. All these different things that make us externally feel good internally can change. If you just say, all I need to be happy is right here, right now, just loving life one day at a time, one breath at a time, life goes well. And then if someone who loves you today doesn't love you tomorrow, even though that will cause sadness, your life will still be very solid because you're not dependent upon that to make you feel good about yourself. What you're depending upon is life itself, just living life, loving life, and really not being very concerned about what people think of you or how people approve of you, instead of just enjoying the journey. When you enjoy life's journey, one breath, one moment at a time, life goes really well. So when people let you down, or you let other people down, even though it may cause a little bit of suffering, it's transitory, it leaves, and you get back to just living, just loving life. And life can be a wonderful, beautiful experience, one breath at a time. Peace.
Our first question this week is from Brian in San Francisco, California. My doctor said I need to eat more vegetables, but I don't like vegetables and chopping them takes so much time. Can you give me any suggestions?
And I love this question. I still agree with your doctor because vegetables are so good for you, especially bright colors or dark green ones are just so good for you. I eat mostly raw myself, and I just consider them the mainstay of who and what I am and what I eat. So 3 suggestions. First one is there are a lot of vegetables. Try different ones you haven't tried. Experiment and say, you know, I've never tried this before. You can go to your store, you'll see so many different kinds. Try different ones and see if you might like some of them. The second thing is try juicing. It takes time, and I know that may be a little bit of concern for you, but you can put in vegetables with like fruits and oranges and carrots. It can make any vegetable that you may not like taste really good. I make killer juices. I drink about like half a gallon of juice every day, fresh organic juice. And you put in lots of vegetables with some fruit, and it's amazing how good it can be. Now, both those suggestions you don't like, I give you a third one. It's not as good, but it's still good. There are a lot of companies out there that do what's called, they take the water out of the fruits and vegetables and they cold press it, which means they don't heat it over 118 degrees, and what's left is a powder. It can be in pill form or it can be powder form you pour into water. These are supplements, and you can put them in your water and you take them. It's about 60% of the kind of the efficiency you're going to get in the true vegetables, but it's still good for you. So check them out, and let's see what Elizabeth thinks.
Brian, another thing that you can do is go into the grocery store. It can be either a regular grocery store or maybe a health food store, and they may have, well, not may, they do have chopped up vegetables for you, so you actually don't have to take the time to do that. You can also find sometimes they're in a bag that you just cut off the top and you microwave them. Maybe you could put a little bit of cheese on top, not too much, or have a little dip on the side. Love ranch dressing, that's just delicious if you get the right one. So be careful not to add too much of those things, but those are things that you can do. You just have to be creative. And maybe when you're eating certain things, like hopefully you're not eating too much of this, but if you eat lots of pizza or something, you could sprinkle some of those veggies on top and you'd be surprised. The combination can actually taste really good. You don't have to always take the time to chop them. They can be chopped for you. Doing what Dr. Puff had mentioned, juicing them is a really great option. You can also, at the stores, you'll see there's often juices for you, like carrot juice, or there's other ones that have a mix of green with fruit, and you'd be surprised. Some of them are like this dark green and you're afraid to try it, but it has this sweet, fruity taste to it. So I would try some of those. And you could even go to, I guess those are fruits, but you could even get smoothies, and that's something that you need in your life too, is a little bit of fruits too, not just vegetables, but fruits and vegetables. But take some vegetables, eat some fruit, and you'd be surprised how much your life will change.
Vegetables are so good for you, particularly when they have bright colors to them or they're dark and green. I mean, I can't even tell you how good they are for you because they have the vitamins, they have the enzymes, they have the minerals. But if you heat them over 118 degrees, you lose a lot of that. So try to eat them not cooked or just barely warmed up. It's better that way for you. It keeps you healthy. You're going to lose that if you heat them too high. So try to eat raw if you can.
And eating salads are a really great option for you as well. There's a lot of benefits to it, and hopefully we've given you some great advice that will help you. Thank you for your question. How to Live a Positive Life, available at www.holistichealth.tv.
Stem cells play a vital role in our body's ability to heal, but become less effective as we get older. StemKine is a daily supplement that has been clinically proven to increase stem cell circulation. Research has shown that circulating stem cells boost our ability to prevent or recover from injury, disease, or chronic conditions. Your stem cells can help you repair, restore, and regenerate. StemKine is an all-natural supplement proven to enhance your stem cells' activity and thereby improve your health.
Our guest today is Christine Soriano, BCBA. She's a clinical director at Pacific Child and Family Associates, which is an agency that provides applied behavioral analysis to children. She discovered her passion for working in the field of ABA when she began working as a one-to-one behavior therapist teaching children diagnosed with autism. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
So can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what ABA is?
ABA, or Applied Behavior Analysis, is an intervention that's used in a variety of situations, but often is used to teach children who have a diagnosis of autism. It breaks down the skills that they haven't learned naturally into small pieces, and it uses reinforcements to teach up those skills.
And I know you were saying that Pacific Child and Family Associates doesn't just work with children with autism. You also work with other children as well. What are some of the things that somebody would be looking at?
That's right, Elizabeth. We work with children who have developmental delays. We have an early intervention program that works with children as young as 16 months of age and up to 3 years. And those children, some of them do have a diagnosis of autism, but others have just developmental delays. And we also work with children who have behavioral problems or behavioral deficits as well.
And I understand that it's really important to start this work as soon as possible, as young as you can. Well, 16 months, I guess it would be. So what are some tips that you can give some family members out there, parents, that some milestones maybe that people should be seeing their child at 1 or maybe 2 doing that are kind of some red flags?
Right. Well, one of the major things to look for when your child is 1 year old, if they're not pointing, if they're not saying a couple words or trying to imitate you, that's a red flag that their language is delayed and their joint attention is delayed. Also, if you're seeing some unusual behaviors as well, such as lining up or any regression or a loss of skills, is a red flag.
So you said a couple things there. You said joint attention and you also said lining up. So I think not everybody might know what those mean. So what exactly is that?
Well, joint attention would be when your child points and maybe makes a sound. They are trying to get your attention to look at what they're looking at, and that would be joint attention. When your child is not exhibiting that, at least by 10 months or 12 months, that's a problem.
Okay, and you had also said lining up.
Right. Sometimes children might have restricted interests, and instead of playing with the car correctly, rolling the car and crashing the car, they might line up cars or look at specific items in the cars, like look at the wheels and turn the wheels. And that's an unusual play behavior. That's not a typical play behavior.
And what about, I mean, I noticed that a lot of the kids with autism sometimes will like stare off a lot. Is that a common thing that you'll see too?
That's a common thing, as well as not looking when their name is called.
So a sense of you call them and they don't respond at all.
Right, seeming to be in their own world at times.
Now what happens if a parent brings their child to their pediatrician and says, hey, I'm noticing these things, and the pediatrician just dismisses it and says, oh, it's not a big deal, don't worry about it?
That happens quite a bit. I see families come in and they have been told it's nothing to worry about. There is much more awareness on the part of pediatricians these days, but we still run across pediatricians who tell the families there's nothing to worry about, and that causes precious time to be lost with the child. And I see these same children, and there's definitely something to worry about, and they have delays that need intensive intervention.
So could somebody just, after watching this episode and they say, wow, I'm noticing that in my child, or maybe a relative or a friend, obviously the family member is going to have to call, but could they just call up and talk to a company like yours and say, this is what I'm seeing? Do they need a referral? Like, how does that whole process work? Because it sounds like it is pretty important to start as early as possible.
That's true. If you have concerns about the developmental delays, it's good to get an assessment done, and that would be from a neurologist or a pediatric diagnostic team. Of course, the first step is to take the child to your pediatrician, and usually pediatricians are really good about listening to parents' concerns, but if your pediatrician does dismiss your concerns,
Second opinion?
Get a second opinion, take your child to another pediatrician.
And why do you think it is so important for the early detection of these developmental delays?
So that precious time is not lost and the child's able to get the intervention sooner to make better progress. In the long run, it's very helpful for the intervention to start as soon as possible.
And what can be done if there is a developmental delay that needs intervention?
There are different types of intervention that can be used. One of the interventions that is used commonly is what we referred to earlier, applied behavior analysis. And that can also be used in conjunction with other interventions such as speech therapy, occupational therapy, and sometimes the programs are 10, 15, they can be up to 30 hours a week of intervention for the child.
That sounds like a lot of intensive work for the child.
It is.
That's pretty important though.
It's very important, and the level of service does depend on the child's needs and what the deficits are as well.
And I know we talked a little bit before about how the work that Pacific Child and Family does is that it builds kind of the foundation for the kids to be able to continue to grow and learn. Would that be correct?
That's right. One of the things that we work on is teaching the children to learn, how to focus on the cues in the environment that are the important cues.
And if they don't have those to start off with and you put them in a classroom, that's going to be, just...
They're not able to gain much from a group learning situation.
So, and even with that, looking at even the autism part of it, for looking at specifically that, what about is there some social issues that a parent may look for to, maybe the child isn't interacting much with peers or even with the parent? Is that something to look for also?
That's a big cue. If the child is not interested in peers or has little interaction with even adults, if they avoid eye contact, those are some social deficits that are important to not dismiss.
Now, how did you get involved with this work? Where did your passion start?
I first got this job as a one-on-one behavior therapist. I really enjoyed the work and decided this was my passion. This is what I wanted to do for my career. And it's been extremely fulfilling work. I'm so glad that I came into this field.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, I know a concern might be for people that, let's say they have a child who maybe needs the services. Where do they get funding for this?
The funding for this service, it varies depending on where you live. Here in Orange County, there are a few different funding options. In California, we have what's called regional centers, and they provide services for children and adults with developmental delays, so that you could call your local regional center. Here in Orange County, it's the Regional Center of Orange County. The service is also paid for by school districts, as well insurance.
And I would imagine, I think it's so great that we're here having you on the show, because I would imagine that there's a lot of people out there that have absolutely no idea where to go or where to turn. So if people would like to get a hold of you, where can they find out more?
Well, we do have a website for Pacific Child and Family. It's at www.pacificchildandfamily.com.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our show and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
There are hundreds of interventions that claim to help children with autism around the world, but only one is proven to be effective. Pacific Child provides state-of-the-art and evidence-based techniques known as applied behavior analysis. Pacific Child is a leading ABA agency providing services to children and adults with autism. Our high-quality team approaches their work with dedication, caring, and respect. Pacific Child, making a world of difference. Tranquility and peace. Find freedom and relaxation no matter where you are or who you're with. Be still, be free. Meditation for Health and Happiness, available at www.holistichealth.tv.
Co-hosts of the Holistic Success Show, Dr. Puff and Elizabeth Lozano, M.A., want to teach you how to live a meditative life. Learn to still your mind, diminish negative thinking, experience peace and bliss, and be 100% present in the moment. Retreats provide a unique opportunity to learn new skills, meet new people, and interact with Elizabeth Lozano and Dr. Puff. For information or reservations for upcoming retreats, please visit holisticretreats.tv. Expand your capacity for joyful living today.
One of the biggest struggles for many people is they do something that they don't want to do. They feel an itch and they scratch it. Yours might be, I'm trying to lose weight, but that chocolate cake looks so good and I want to eat it, so you eat it. And on a more serious level, it might be, I'm an alcoholic and I shouldn't drink, but right now that urge is so strong, I'm going to go ahead and drink. And you drink and then you feel horrible and you may hurt people and the people that you love. So addictions, desires can have a very detrimental impact on us. How do we work to subdue them? It's actually very simple and it's a very effective tool I want to give you. What you do is when that desire, when that addiction arises, you witness it. And then you distract yourself and you do something else. But you may say, Dr. Puff, if I do that, it's going to get stronger and stronger. What you'll find is that isn't true. And let me use mosquitoes as an analogy. If a mosquito bites you, if you scratch it, it will itch again. It will come back and keep itching. It will keep itching. You just keep scratching it, scratching it, scratching it until you can ultimately make a raw spot there in your arm. But what you'll find is if you don't scratch it, if you feel the itch and you don't feed that urge and scratch it, it will pass and it will actually go away. And our desires, our addictions are very much like that. It's that initial, when it comes up, what you have to do is not feed it. Distract yourself. And what we typically do is we feed it. We identify with it. We think, I need to have this, I have to have this, or it's going to be horrible. So you go ahead and feed it. And you think, oh, it'll go better. I'll take care of this. I'll have that alcohol. I'll eat that chocolate cake. Or whatever it may be for you, whatever the struggle may be. Instead, don't identify with it. Don't scratch it. Meaning don't fulfill it. And what you'll find is it will pass. Everything passes and it will get subdued. Even severe things. This is really something different, but it's really our bodies work that way. If we are on a long car trip and we really have to go to the bathroom, it won't hurt the whole time. What will happen, it kind of comes in waves, and ultimately you need to go to the bathroom and you'll feel better. But the point is, no addiction just stays super strong. And addictions, if you don't scratch them, they actually become less and less and less. And so the key is when it arises, one, don't scratch it, don't fulfill it, and do something else. Just distract yourself. You can see that with children. When they really want something, and then all of a sudden you bring something else for them to keep their focus on, they forget about that other thing that they really want. We're the same way. If you really want that chocolate cake, you say, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm going to just go ahead and, go ahead and wash the dishes and distract yourself from thinking about that cake. And what you'll find is it will pass. You'll get over it. It'll go away. Again, in the more severe cases like an addiction, if you don't feed that addiction, it too will pass. We get the urge thinking, I have to do this, because your mind is feeding it, and then your actions feed it, and it makes it stronger. But instead, if you just witness it, and you change your attention to something else, the beautiful thing you're going to find is it will get quieter. It won't stay intense. And with time, you'll find that addiction, that desire that's causing you suffering, will dissipate like mist. Peace.
Our second question this week comes to us from Marcos in Manila, Philippines. Lately I've been experiencing sadness and I don't know why. Nothing major has occurred in my life. What could this be?
Marcos, when you're not sure what's causing your depression, it's good to put on your clinical hat and say, okay, what's going on? And the person you want to look at is not so much the external events. You want to look at this brain of yours and start paying attention about what you are thinking about all day long. Because again, you can take a bomb and blow something up, or you can take a hammer and chip away at it, chip away at it, chip away at it, and it will ultimately tear it down. Your mind kind of works the same way. Sometimes there are big events that we know this is why I'm depressed or sad. But sometimes it's just the wearing away of thoughts all day long. It'd be like you're thinking something negative of another person, you're watching negative things, you are sad about the way your life is turning out, but it's subtle. It can be a lot of different things, but it's really going to be back to here. What's going on inside of here? And if you can be aware of it, you say, okay, I am thinking negatively throughout the day, which is causing me sadness. So then you work towards changing it. And when you change your thoughts, your affect will change. But you have to first determine what's happening here. This is where the root of it. This is causing your sadness, because if you weren't thinking things negatively, you wouldn't be feeling sad. But through awareness, you can discover, what am I feeling?
I so agree with you on all of that. Sometimes there's things that occur in our life that we have pushed so far back and we don't realize that they are affecting us. Maybe it's expectations we have upon ourselves or other people that aren't panning out the way that we had planned. Another thing that could happen is maybe you're watching the news every day in the morning, maybe you're reading the newspaper, and not that it's bad to do those things, but what happens is it does have an effect on us. I often refer to it as bad news because most of it is bad news, and I myself can only do bits and pieces of it because it does cause me to feel sad, because a lot of it I have no control over. And the other thing is, though, we often talk about the combination of genetics and environment, and sometimes there could be things going on in your body. Now, I'm not the type of person who's going to say, go get medication, because that's not necessarily what needs to be done here. And there's a lot of things that you could do before even that happens, like exercise and eating habits and who you're spending time with. All those things really matter. But sometimes we can have things going on in our body, which is why it's important to go get a physical and get a checkup. Sometimes our thyroid can be off. There's a lot of things. There's a synergistic kind of thing that goes on with our body and mind. And just how sometimes if we're feeling sad, our body can feel slow and lethargic. And sometimes if there's dysfunction in our body, it can cause our mind to not feel so good either. So explore kind of everything and take a look at the whole picture, because it all matters, even what you're eating.
One very natural way to change your level of happiness so you're not as sad is to meditate.
And it's also free.
Yes, because meditation has been shown to increase the level of your activity of happiness in your brain. Your left frontal lobe will become more active when you start meditating. So it's a natural way to become happier.
And we also have a free Meditation for Health podcast, which is available on our website and in iTunes, and we encourage you to check that out. But also look into all the other things that we were talking about also. Thank you so much for your question, and we wish you all the best.
Clonia cava. This superfood from the ocean antioxidant force is much greater than anything grown on land. Humic nutrients. Considered the essence of life, it's what helps plants grow naturally, has been shown to have incredible potential immune-enhancing properties. Aloe vera has been used for health and medicinal purposes. With 75 nutritional components, this unique lily plant is one of the most efficient delivery systems of nutrients into the bloodstream.
Not feeling the way you want to feel, isolated, worried, frustrated, or is your child struggling? There are lots of labels. Our body is a system. It can affect our feelings. Sometimes you need a little help to understand what is happening, to make a plan for improvement, to take control of your body and mind. Insightful Minds, Psychiatry for Children, Adults, and Families. Call us for an appointment or go to insightfulminds.org.
Are you or someone you love struggling with depression, anger, or anxiety? Have you suffered a loss, or are you struggling to keep your relationship alive? Do you have a child or teen who needs help? You don't have to face it alone. We are here to help you create the change you need in your life to be happy again. Visit us at www.ocmentalhealthexperts.com for more information.
Our quote this week is by Mary Kay Ash, and I absolutely love it. Pretend that every single person you meet has a sign around his or her neck that says, "Make me feel important." Can you imagine if we all went through the world like that? Try it and see the change around you. Thank you for joining us on the Holistic Success Show. If you'd like to make a positive change in your life for free, please listen to our Meditation for Health podcast, available on our website and iTunes.
And if you'd like to learn more about our books and CDs, please visit our bookstore at our website.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a beautiful week.